Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fan Interference with Wichita Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. Fan Interference is a weekly program where you, the fans, get to ask your questions about the Wingnuts, baseball, or sports in general, or just seek Pete's wisdom about life events that are going on out there. In this week's episode, Pete tells us whether wins and losses during spring training really matter. Pete discusses how much he dislikes daylight savings time, and Pete supports the decision of a woman who may have been dating the ultimate mama's boy. So let's get right to Fan Interference. So let's welcome back manager Pete Rose Jr. Pete, do you have team updates you'd like to share with us?
I want to say we signed pitcher J.J. Campbell. I don't really know much about him. He was recommended to us with one of our pitchers from last year, Garrett Gold. So I know he's played before. But I think that might be really the only thing. I'm sure that, here in the next couple of weeks we're going to start, getting guys' contracts out and getting them signed and start looking towards May 6th, which is when we open up spring training. So it'll all probably happen fast. And like I said, we just get the guys that are coming back from last year and figure out what we need to plug and if we need to plug anything and go from there. So it's getting that time of year again, man. So it's starting to get the exciting time.
Just a couple months away now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. You think that it's here by you have one day of 70 here in Cincinnati, and my son practices outside, but yet the next day a high of 37. So it's not quite here. So we'll have to wait another month or two.
Before we get into fan questions, a few fans had written in yesterday after the selection show was done and was curious to hear what your final four would be.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's a tough thing. I got to go with Cincy. I don't, it's probably a bad pick, but I'll say Cincinnati. I'll say, and I haven't really even looked at the bracket yet because we're kind of gearing up for the first four, which is in Dayton, which is about 45 minutes, and I may take my son on Wednesday to go watch practice up in Indianapolis. I know Northern Kentucky and Louisville are up there. Wichita State's actually up there, so. It'd be nice to go up and see them. I met their head coach last year. Great guy at the ballpark. So we may do that Wednesday, but you can't go against Villanova. I think Gonzaga has a chance, so we'll go Cincinnati, Villanova, Gonzaga, and I may be wrong on this, but I'll say Louisville. They may be in one of the brackets I just picked.
Sounds like a Final Four. Like it.
Yeah, you know what? We may have to expand on this maybe in a couple days after I can see what the bracket is. We'll leave it TBA. How about that?
All right, that sounds good. Well, let's open up with the fan questions. We have Chris from Newton who says, Pete, what you've been saying on previous shows, are we correct to assume that you expect the same batting order for this season?
Yes. I mean, you would love to say yes. But when you see your third baseman and your two-hole hitter playing on TV against the Mets, with the Tigers, it's be a little different, obviously. But if we have the same position players, which I think we're going to have the majority of them back, we can do a lot with it. I mean, I'm sure you're going to see Cleve and Chavi and TJ, right there in the middle of our order, just because of what they did last year and how good of hitters they are, but. String can either lead off, he can hit second. Prigatano can lead off. Leo can lead off. Harry Kane can lead off. So we got a bunch of mix and matches, but I'm a kind of guy I like to just kind of set the order and just go with it. That way, when players come in, they don't have to look at the lineup, see where they're hitting. Maybe they have to do something different. They know coming in, hey, this is what it's going to be, and we'll kind of go from there. So, but I think it's going to be a lot similar than what we had last year. So. And that's a really good thing because, I loved the way our lineup looked last year. And, obviously we want Zach Cox to play in the big leagues or play in AAA, but to lose him would be a big blow to us. But we got guys that can, we can just fill right in. So we'll be in pretty good shape, I think.
Yeah, I know Zach hasn't played a lot in spring training, but when he has, he sure delivered so far. So,
yeah, exactly. It's funny. We watched a game the other day, and my son just kind of looked at him like, who is that? Because he shaved his beard. But once he swung, actually got to base it up the middle. But he looks like he belongs, and he won the first round pick for a reason, and I think he's got a really good chance of sticking with them. And if I'm the Tigers, I'm definitely going to take a hard, long look at him. If it's not the big league level, definitely he can play in AAA. There's no two ways around it. But he's been holding his own, and you know what? It's not a surprise to me or anybody's been around him on a daily basis. But he's swinging the bat good.
Freddie from Wichita would like to know, he says, are you expecting a whole reset of your pitching staff?
Um, you know, I don't know if we're gonna like a whole reset, but when Capper's not coming back, Link's not coming back, Timmy Brown's not coming back. Well, there's three guys right there, so you plug in Cooper, you're gonna plug in some other guys, obviously. So it won't be a total reset, but I think it'll be a little different. In the bullpen, that's another thing. Just thinking about this, Chad Nading, he had just signed with the Padres to go to minor league camp, so that's another minus of us, from our staff. But it'll be different. But I think you have guys. Seth Harvey's going to be back and healthy. Divine is probably going to be back, and both of those two guys can be back end guys. So I know JJ Campbell throws really hard, so it'll look different, but it'll kind of look the same. But I think you just kind of go as go as we go. You see how everybody looks in spring training, and kind of go from there. But I'd be really shocked if both years isn't pitching against Laredo on the 18th. I think he's earned it. I think the year he did last year, I think, he's our number one, and we kind of just fill in from there. So, and that's what we're going to look forward to is the 18th, but you got to set it up, the way you want to set it. So it'll be a little different, but I think you'll see a lot of similarities, though, too.
You guys added Danny Gutierrez, too, as a proven American Association.
And another, yes. And that's, when you have, we tried to get him last year for our playoff run, and that kind of, fell through. What a great guy. Just talking to him, he's played in Mexico, he's played in the American Association, a guy to anchor your staff, a proven veteran. So that's another guy that we signed. And it's funny, you probably know more guys that are signed than I have. That's to tell you how much I pay attention to the transactions and everything else. I just, whenever I get the sheet, I get the sheet. But him, I think Kushmal, he was with us last year and then got signed. I think he's coming back. So our starters should be deep. Should be good again like last year. You got Leesman, who's healthy. I seen him throw a bullpen the other day, about a week and a half ago, which he looks really good. So it's going to be fun to watch, man. I'll tell you, it's if we could have had everybody stay healthy last year, who knows what could have happened. But if you tell me we can do it the same exact way with those years pitching Game 5 in the championship series, I'm okay with that. We can do it exactly the same.
Lance from Augusta asks of you. He says, is that Kirk Smith playing for the Netherlands, the same one who plays for the Lincoln Salt Dogs?
Yes, absolutely. And, what a good player, a solid player. I mean, and, that should tell you, I was talking about, with Zach Cox, it's, these guys just need an opportunity. I mean, there's no two ways that if you put TJ Middlestat on TV right now for Team USA or whoever, he's going to be TJ Middlestat. And if you put, Harrison Kane in there, or if you put Brent Cle, and so forth. But yes, it is Kirk Smith. Had a really good year last year. And he's a professional hitter, and you can tell just by watching the games. And actually the World Cup's been really interesting and fun to watch. But you can, he looks exactly the same as he did in Lincoln last year, and very happy for him. I mean, it's it gives the league some publicity, rightfully so, because we got a really good league. I mean, there's a lot of good baseball players in our league.
Harold from Wichita would like to know, are you expecting to do little kids camps this year to teach the game? Because he says his son would really benefit from that.
We did some last year, and it's kind of up to Josh. But I'll tell you, if kids can just go out and just play the game, whether it's with friends or whatever, instead of sitting in the house or playing video games, and don't get me wrong, I play video games with the best of them. But I think the more they play, the more they'll learn as far as playing the game or watching the game. But, we did a couple last year. I know we did that big Chevy camp after the Friends University game, which was a great turnout. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do a couple like last year. But, I got to get up and talk to Josh and figure it out. And then, once we figure it out, we'll let you know right away. And, we'll get him in there and lock him in.
Scott from Des Moines would like to know if you think that spring training results in terms of wins and losses really matter to teams.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you want to win, but, I think in spring training, it's kind of, once the first 5 innings are over, it's kind of, mix and match. And, once you get later in the spring, I think, let's just say that the later the spring training gets, I think the more you want to start winning, because you start setting your 8th inning guy, your 9th inning guy. You start your rotation and your batting order to where guys are starting to play 9 innings. But, at the beginning, it's just about getting your work, getting everybody out of there healthy. But it's always better to win than to lose. But I don't really think a lot of guys take, spring training wins or losses, the way that a lot of fans do. Let's just say that. I just think if You guys are getting your work in, like our spring training. We want to win, but you know what? Hey, if Cleve's getting ready and TJ's getting ready and Harry's getting ready, and we're having good at bats and whatever, if we don't win a spring training game, we're not going to push the panic button by any means because they don't count. So, but it's good. It's a good tool to use to get ready for the season.
Han, writing to us from Seoul, South Korea, actually, would like to know if you have recommendations on how a person can improve their ability to bunt.
Practice, just practice. I mean, it's a lost art. Nobody bunts anymore. I was taught how to bunt, and you just want to you want to try to catch the ball with the bat. You want to try to keep your barrel up. You don't want to let your barrel drop. But I think the more it's like hitting. It's like ground balls. It's like fly balls. The more you do it, the more practice you get, the better you're going to get at it. So just practice, keep working on it. But it's a lost art, and a lot of people don't bunt anymore, and it's kind of sad because the game's kind of shifted from old school way to kind of the new school. But the more you practice, the better off you're going to be.
I think somebody had asked Kevin Hooper this a couple of years ago too. One of the things he talked about was the positioning of your hands.
Yeah, it is, but you know what? It's Rob, it's like anything else. There's not one way to do it. If you can keep your hands together like a hitter and you can get the bunt down 100 out of 100 times, you know what? Get it done. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of, always fundamentals involved. I'm sure that's what Kevin was talking about, to where, yeah, you want your hands in a certain spot. But, if one guy can do it and he does it like this, kind of like the way my dad hit, you don't want to teach it that way, but he did it, leave him alone, and, look what happened. But he's spot on with that, to where there's some similarities. You want to choke up on the bat so you got more bat control. That way you can, not let the barrel of the bat drop. But I think practice is the most important thing. And you know what? There's two different ways. You can square all the way around, or you can kind of just, half square. So I was a half square guy. I know a lot of other guys, square all the way around, but I don't really think it matters as long as, you bunt it fair and you get it down.
Trevor from Florence would like to know, he says, should we be concerned that the Bengals have not made any moves to shore up the team?
We signed Eric Winston. That's a plus.
The player you're looking for. Yeah, the player you're looking for.
Yeah, that was. I'll tell you what. If you watch all the stuff, I just hope we got a good solid pick, and I hope Reuben Foster's there when we come to pick, because I think if you put him next to Nick Vigil and obviously the freak Tez Perfect in the middle, that's three really good linebackers. And I think if we can just draft right, but you know what, we're notorious for everybody telling us this is who we should take, and we take somebody else, and it'll probably be an offensive lineman or something like that. No pun intended to them, because those guys are, you need a great offensive line. Look at the Cowboys, but I think when you've picked that high, I think you need to go with the best, the best football player. And I think we're going to be all right. I mean, I really do. AJ's not going to get traded, so Osweiler went to Cleveland. That's what I was worried about as far as AJ McCarron leaving. So he's here, but hey, we talked about it on last week's show. Wouldn't it be nice to get Adrian Peterson or Jamal Charles or somebody like that? I think it would be outstanding, but. Time will tell, and the Houday Nation will just we'll stay positive and we'll hope for the best.
Gil from Wichita asks of you. He says, I don't really understand why a guy like Jay Cutler did not perform better. All the talent in the world. Is that just attitude?
It's I don't know. You really don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's obviously all talent never gets it. I mean, I think. He's a great quarterback. I mean, if you look at him and the way he plays, I just think his body language is bad sometimes, where it just kind of looks like he just, whatever. But, I've never met him. You can't say anything bad about him, but he's going to be a good quarterback. He's going to go somewhere, and I think he's going to get a chance, and maybe he just needs a change of scenery. But that's tough to explain, man, because he's a solid quarterback, and he just hadn't put it together with the Bears, and I think that's maybe what they're missing is a quarterback.
Alex from Sterling comments. He says, "Great, daylight savings time again. It will take me a month to get back to get myself back on schedule again."
Yeah, you know what? The darkness in the morning kills you, but it's better at night, so you maybe can grill out a little later at night. But yeah, it stinks, doesn't it? It's just one thing or the other. Let's just stick with one time and let's just kind of go with it. But yeah, it's. I thought it was 5 o'clock yesterday, and sure enough, it's 6 o'clock and running late. I'm on the same page, man. It'll probably take me a good solid week or so, but at least you get more grilling time, and time to stay light, maybe play, a little baseball, a little basketball, whatever you want to do. So it's a good thing. I like it better than falling back. Falling back just means you just want to stay in bed. So I'm not a big fan of falling back.
A person identifying herself as seeking advice says, I need some support here. My boyfriend goes to college about 600 miles from me and doesn't think long-distance relationships can work. If two people love one another, they can make it work, right?
Absolutely. No two ways around it. And, if he doesn't think that, it's kind of like if you're going to hit, you're going to take it at bat and you don't think you can hit this guy, you know what, you're not going to hit him, period. I mean, I think if you go into it with a really positive attitude, sky's the limit. But, if you're going into it kind of these things aren't going to work, you might want to maybe think twice and maybe, hey, you try to pump him up a little bit, or, I'm sure there's somebody out there that maybe would like to make a long-distance relationship work. And, we've talked to a couple other people here to where sometimes, hey, you just got to say you're just going to move on and something will happen. But I think if he goes in positive, he can definitely work. But they do work. Baseball players do it all the time. So, you just got to practice that. You got to work at it, just like anything else.
Our last question this week comes from Tricia from Wichita. She says, Pete, check this out. I was dating this guy who took me to his mom's house for dinner a few times a week. Last week I am there when his mother tells me that her son thinks things are not working out and would like to break up. His mom broke up with me for him. I dodged a bullet on that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you kind of did, but you know what? I think I'd rather, I don't know if I dodged a bullet. I think I'd still let him know what my feelings are, because I mean, what is that? I mean, you can't have your mom do everything for you. I mean, is a guy like, is he 20? Is he 18? I mean, come on, man. You got to have, I mean, you owe it to her at least that, hey, you got to do that yourself. But she did dodge a bullet. Hopefully it was earlier than later, so she don't have a lot of time invested to him. But, man, what a bad way to break up with somebody. That's terrible.
What mom would want to do that? That's what I'm trying to figure out, too.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to be a really stern mom, or I'll tell you what, if she doesn't like the girlfriend, then I'm sure every mom that doesn't like the girlfriend, I'm sure they would love to do it.
Well, thanks for joining us this week, Pete.
Okay, Rob, talk to you next week, buddy.
We want to thank Manager Pete Rose, Jr. for joining us on Fan Interference this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnuts manager, please send them to us at askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give Pete a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report. We'll see you next time on Fan Interference.